So I'm gonna start this video off with a true story, something that occurred to me a long time ago. Remember, I'm 35. And this happened over a decade ago, and one of the moments in my life that I'm not proud of, the way I acted, the way I behaved in the moment, but I can look back and say that I am proud of how it ended and how it turned out. And I won't go into every single detail of the story, but the story will play a part in today's discussion. And I remember like it was yesterday. It actually occurred in February, which is crazy. Wow, right around this time in February. I know you're like, what are you talking about right now? But it was near the All-Star game break when the incident happened. The NBA All-Star game. The NBA All-Star break, sorry. And I got into an argument with someone who I was in a relationship at the time. And we were both operating from hurt places. And we both said some things to each other that in the moment, we both wish we could take back. But we were very emotional. And it didn't matter the reasons or what started the confrontation, the argument, who was right and who was wrong. I just looked at my part in it. And I knew that that person who I was representing at the time really wasn't me. And no matter how I felt about the situation, I needed to do something about it. And so fast forward like a month later, I think it was around a month, or it may have been even longer than that. I went up to the person, unsolicited. No one told me to do this, but it was just in my heart. And I took responsibility for what I said. And I atoned for my actions. And the person was initially caught off guard. She was not expecting that. Not a lot of guys do that, just to be honest. However, I could really tell that it meant a lot to that person when I did that. And the very next day, this is no lie, after I spoke with that individual and atoned for that interaction, that was the last interaction we had with each other. That officially ended the relationship. The very next day, I had my first encounter and interaction with the woman I would go on to marry. And that's no coincidence at all. I don't believe in coincidences. Everything happens for a reason. And I know that if I had not atoned for my behavior in that past relationship, my behavior during that confrontation, during that argument, for what I said, I would not have been given the opportunity to meet the woman I would go on to marry. And so today, I want to talk about the power of atonement and what atonement really looks like and what atonement really is, and how when an individual doesn't atone for his or her mistakes, how it can be harmful to people who have nothing to do with the situation. Atonement is not asking for forgiveness. Today, when we see people making mistakes, especially in like the celebrity world or out in the public eye, they're often told to apologize for what they said or what they did. And they go on this apology tour. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Or I didn't mean to say this. Or I was just in a moment where I was probably under an influence. We've seen it before. We know all the excuses. We know the script ahead of time, what they're going to say. But now it comes across as being very disingenuous because someone had to tell you that you need to go make this right. It wasn't something that something didn't rise up within you and made you say and think about what you did and the hurt and the pain you caused that person. Because when you atone for something, when you make amends, you're thinking about the person. You're thinking about how they felt. You're removing yourself out of the equation. It's not about you. It's not about your ego. It's not about how you feel. You're completely focused on the person. And you want to make it right with them. That's what atonement is about. And the power of atonement, the reason why it's so powerful is because when it's done, that situation, it completely ends more times than not. See, a lot of people are out here operating from a hurt place because the people that hurt them never atone for what they did. So the person that I brought up in the beginning of the video, just think about it. Think about the impact I would have left on that person if I never atoned for what I did. That person could have easily gone throughout the rest of their life having a personal vendetta on people who look like me or behave like me. She could have been like, you know what? She could have made me the poster boy for men in her eyes because of what I said that day. So a lot of people are carrying around this pain and this hurt and projecting it on other people because that person who created that pain or made them feel that way never atoned for what they did. And it causes a ripple effect because we have people who are in prominent positions, people who have influence, who are still carrying around a lot of hurt and a lot of pain from what happened to them in their previous life. And now, since they have an audience, and since they never have properly dealt with that pain, they're subconsciously, or maybe even consciously, projecting it onto other people. We're actually seeing this playing out right now, real time. So that's why it's so important that when you do hurt someone, when you do wrong someone, that you make amends for what you did. Not for you, but for other people. For the person you hurt, and for the people in the future who that person that you hurt may come in contact with. See, that's the power of atonement. And it will potentially prevent a tidal wave of hurt. We're so prideful now that we think it's not cool to admit when you did wrong. And no one wants to listen to each other. Everyone wants to blame. No one wants to take responsibility. No one wants to take accountability for their actions. People are out here very hurt, carrying around a lot of pain. And a lot more times than not, this could have been corrected if people would simply atone for what they did. So now, a lot of people today are out here having to answer for other people's mistakes, or people are out here having to account or be accountable for someone else's pain. And if you are someone who has been hurt in the past, if you are someone who is still carrying around a burden because someone didn't atone for what they did to you, I'm sorry. I apologize. I know how much it hurts. I know how much PTSD you are still having to this day. But if he or she has not atoned for what they did to you, please try your hardest to make sure that you don't project that hurt onto someone else. Especially if you're a person of influence. Because what you are unknowingly doing is you're causing life to be a lot harder for people who you've never met, never will meet, and who have no idea what you even went through. But more importantly than that, the most important thing that I want you to take away from this video is if you have hurt someone, doesn't matter if they hurt you or not. If you have hurt someone, if you have caused someone to feel pain or shame, make amends for that. Atone for that action, because there is power in that. You will be rewarded. It may not seem like it at the time, when I had to swallow my pride, remove myself from the equation, and completely focus on the person who I caused pain to. It is no coincidence that the very next day I had my first encounter with a woman I would go on to marry and live a blissful life with. That's how powerful atonement is. So when you're going through life, and one of the battles you have to face is the battle of, should I atone for this, or should I just be prideful and stand my guard, stand on my ground, stand on my square? The answer is always atone. Unsolicited forgiveness, asking for forgiveness unsolicitedly. I don't even know if that's a word or not, but you know what I'm saying. It's very powerful. And when we start to do this collectively, you will see such a big difference in this country and throughout the world. And in my heart of hearts, I do believe it's going to start happening very, very soon. I think people are going to start to let their guards down a little bit and start focusing on themselves and really understanding the impact they make on other people. Atonement, very powerful. Go ahead and start doing it right now. text that individual, call that individual, have a face-to-face conversation with that individual and say, it doesn't matter what you did. You don't even have to say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for what I did. I'm sorry if I caused any pain to you unknowingly. I'm sorry if I caused you any hurt. And I want you to truly forgive me if you can. But if you can't, please know that I am sorry for what I did to you. And I hope what I did to you won't cause a ripple effect of pain and hurt to others.